All right, Tay. So we talked about the problem. We looked at elsewhere for solutions. So what do we do?
Well, there's several things we could do. One thing, let's go back to the permitting process. If certain projects can get some type of favored response from the government, let's say if at least 20% of the units are dedicated for affordable homes, then they get some type of priority processing.
That's a great idea.
That's one way we could really incentivize developers. Another is pre-approved affordable housing designs. This is a new concept. Basically, if certain designs are available that, let's say, a builder or even a landowner would like to build, and these have all been reviewed in the past.
Yes.
They just select that and they go through the process, and it could really reduce the amount of time when it comes to permitting. Right?
That's a great approach as well.
Yeah. There are others. I think at the recent GURA Summit, Housing Summit, there were suggestions about reducing the lot sizes from 2,000 square meters to something smaller.
4,500, right?
Yes,
I think
correct.
4,500 square meters.
4,500 square meters. But keep in mind, again, going back to the primary issue that everyone's facing is infrastructure, right?
Yes.
Sewer, water. You need to make sure all of that is available. So, just kind of changing our mindset from a single family home, our traditional like large lots with one house in the middle of it. I think we need to change our mindset that we got to start moving away from that to a little bit more like medium density areas. There's multi-use properties out in the States, out in everywhere actually around the world, where you have very walkable communities where the first floor is normally retail or commercial activity, and then the upper floors are normally housing units, right? So if you could create that type of walkable neighborhood, I'm sure that we could alleviate some of that problem.
No, yeah, and for me too, transportation. Having been a realtor before, distance from work is always a huge issue.
Correct. Correct.
Just because if I don't have a car, I'm in affordable housing for a reason, right? I'm trying to work my way out. How do I get to where I need to go at a place where gas is $5 a gallon?
Yeah, so there's synergy involved in all of that, mainly because, we have mass transportation issues here on Guam. If you really go back to why we have that issue, it's because we're so spread out, right? We're so sparsely populated that if you don't have major densities of population, it's really hard to have a urban mass transportation system, right?
Yes, that's key. Because if you're servicing the South, like UMATIC has 800 people,
correct,
right? And it's hard to sustain a line like that.
Correct. You're absolutely right.
Well, what do you think the market's going to look like in the next 10 years? We got the buildup coming, right? They extended to 2032. Camp Loss, man, I don't recognize Route 3 at all. It's crazy over there. So what do you think it's going to look like here in 10 years?
Housing market is going to definitely change. I'm kind of predicting that prices are still going to increase, but not at the rate it did a few years ago. There has to be some type of innovation. Mainly, it has to be led by GovGuam. And if GovGuam and GURA can steer this properly, I think we could bring some innovative ideas and innovative construction technologies here to Guam so that we could kind of make housing a little bit more affordable for the people here.
And so I'll stop you there, right? Just we mentioned about what the government's good at. Is the government good at innovation? Are we asking the wrong person to do that?
Government should be, their role should be governing and ensuring that public policy is in place so that these private partners can bring the innovation.
Fair.
So setting the stage is the first step.
Yes, I agree. Right, just clear policy, clear execution.
Correct.
What you see is what you get. There's no murkiness.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, and I think that's missing, and I think that's something we need to change quickly.
Yep. I did wanted to mention one last thing immediately that might be able to resolve some of the housing shortages. I know there's been a lot of talk about ADUs, accessory dwelling units. That's one way. That's an immediate Band-Aid fix for Guam.
I agree. Fernando Estevez talks about some of the social consequences of, intrafamily housing and just intergenerational families and even unrelated families living on top of each other. And you see the police blotter and the magistrate's report, right? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
How does this happen? And if you put someone out in an ADU, at least that gives you space,
Correct.
privacy.
Correct. And if you're a private landowner and you own the land, if you want to build housing for, let's say, the next generation of your family, then the burden is a lot less. Right?
Yeah. And I would say to the public who's not out there, you don't know how bad it is until you've walked a property corner and you've seen a pallet shantytown, popped up on the edge of a property about 40 people deep, right? No sewer, no running water.
Absolutely. Right. So if without these policies, we're basically creating a situation where certain folks are going to just build illegally, right? And,
it's a matter of survival.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. So how would you advise someone trying to get in the market now, right? We know the middle income issue is a huge deal, right? The affordable housing, I guess it's like they calculate it to be like $2,000, but that includes utilities.
Correct.
Right? We know that a 3-bedroom house, $2,400, anything livable, right? For the most part, or even any rental program now. There's no differentiation between affordable rental programs or military. It's the middle class that gets crowded out.
Right. You're absolutely right. If a young professional is looking at preparing to purchase a home in the next 5 to 10 years, they need to be very mindful of their finances, right? And they need to follow the current interest rates. What's preventing a lot of folks from acquiring housing is basically the mortgage rates, the interest rates, and also the leverage amount, right?
Yes.
So those they need to start thinking about their credit scores. Obviously, they need to also explore first-time home buyer programs.
Yes.
That's another major one. I know the Guam Housing Corp does have a program to assist first-time home buyers find a place. What else is there? They need to start saving for a down payment and closing costs, right? And that's major. You're looking at like 10% to 20% of the purchase price sometimes, right? So I know first-time home buyer program might have, let's say, 100% financing, but there might be a lot of restrictions with that too.
Yeah, like for me, it's liquidity. Correct. Most people can't come up with 20%. And so maybe I scrape together 3% for an FHA loan, but now I'm slapped with mortgage insurance, right? Which is, how am I going to afford that at an interest rate that's 7% plus this? It's so cumbersome and it's almost unsolvable. But there are great programs like the USDA Direct Loan that subsidizes rates down to below market. And so as a portal to developers, this is amazing. And then there's also an apparatus to quickly package those borrowers into digestible transactions. We can absorb this. We can get them in a house in XYZ. Meaning, it's almost a self-certification. You have these packagers, right? So we can do community outreach. We can get all these people to come in and say they're going to buy. We can place them, but the problem is no one has the cash, right?
That's always the issue.
So, but what you say is come up with the plan, start working the plan.
Yes.
And that is really the success to any venture.
Absolutely.
You have a plan, you work it, because you're building wealth, you're building a business, right? Essentially.
Absolutely.
And so
you're actually building a mechanism to increase your personal wealth, right? It's like the difference between the net worth between an individual that owns a home and doesn't own a home is quite dramatic.
Right. And so for me, I think the subsidies should be bringing people to multifamily. So help people buy their first multifamily. Put the tenant in there, and that's a wealth builder. Now you solve two problems. Now you're building generational wealth, Plus, you're providing affordable housing. Incentivize people to act in that way. And I think thinking around the problem is the solution.
So going back to that, and that is, this is, well, you got to kind of think outside the box. My first home purchase was not a single family home. It was a fourplex.
Right on.
Right. And I did that mainly because of the fact that I realized that there's a certain amount of rental income that comes from that. I could live in one unit, 3 units, I could rent it out, cover the mortgage, and have a little bit of left for myself and my family.
Right, and most people don't know if you buy a multifamily with a tenant in it, generally 70% of the rent gets applied to your qualification.
And it's not considered commercial loan, by the way.
Yep, you can do multifamily up to 4 units.
Correct.
Right. And so we talk about contractors wanting to leverage their margins. Well, there's margin there. 4-unit FHA, I think over $1 million, I think is the loan limit. And there's plenty of margin there for developer.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And with the rental rates where they are, plenty of margin there for the homeowner in terms of cash flow. Yep. If you've lived your why and you have that down payment, or we come to the table with a solution that helps you bridge that gap.
Correct. I get it. It could be tough with the current inflationary situation we're kind of living in.
Yeah, we're going to 10%? I don't know.
Yeah.
Tariffs.
And then the tariffs are not going to help. But if we gotta on the public policy side, we do have to start controlling our cost of living.
Yes, this is our new normal. And I think expecting prices to go down is just wishful thinking.